do you think this is too close, or do you know where Pat usually puts this?
You can put it there.
Okay.
She does it because the charger's there, but you've been recording. See, it's up there.
I'm sorry, hang on. What now? Yeah.
See the captioner? She's been capturing everything.
Oh, okay.
Since she launched the Zoom meeting, she's been doing that. You might want to ask her how it's talking big.
Yeah, I put it in. Hi, Jenny. It's Shannon, and I'm wondering if the level of volume is okay for you. It sounds good. Okay.
There you go.
So, one thing you're talking about, where the heck are Pat and Fred? Well, they're not here today.
So we can sit in our Oh, okay.
Our Pat and Fred, yeah.
Okay, got it. Yeah, great.
You what?
Okay, there we go. I'll make an announcement.
Our presenter is here.
Okay.
You
Hey there. How are you?
Stewart is the figure that's behind the mission.
Yes.
This is Dr. Susan Schmidt.
Hi. Yes.
I have your PowerPoint up there.
Okay.
Trying to get the clicker to work.
Okay, that's always a challenge.
Yes, it is. That's the south side.
She tasted the cake. She said, yum, yum. When she tasted the cake, she said, yum, yum. She tasted the cake, she said, yum, yum.
At least I can hear it.
They'll have a short business meeting and we just, you're gonna, do that. Yeah, go ahead and try. So you go too far, then you just go back. Do you want a pointer? Okay.
I think it'll be fine.
Okay.
Does this have
It does.
All right, well, thank you for setting that up for me.
Oh, no problem. Do you like to walk around or do you want to stand at the podium?
I think the only way people might have hearing aids
If you like to walk around, you can. It's up to you.
scares me.
Okay, it does kind of, and you know, people have a tendency to put it down here and it has to be up here, so. If you go there, then we'll have you on camera and everything, so you'll be able to.
Yeah.
Do you want some water?
No, it's okay. Hot tea. It's cold outside.
It was cold this morning.
Yes.
Yesterday we had genealogy. Works for him. And she got her
Susan was just telling us that she sent an email to
I sleep really good during the winter too.
and it was undeliverable.
That's a little chilly.
Yeah.
We have had, we don't even want to know the scope of how frustrated we are. Okay, but I'm glad you just looked at it for letting her through that. Okay. Pat Williams gave me this shirt, by the way. That's why I have the hair up, because I thought I gotta look like the shirt.
I was just looking at the picture, but now I see the balloons.
I know, right? Okay, I'm gonna put this back for whoever this is for. You're gonna take one. Thank you.
Okay. Hi there. Great. Can everyone hear me?
Telefoil.
Okay. Good afternoon and welcome to the HLAA West Valley January meeting. We're ringing in the new year with a really timely topic on tinnitus and ringing in our ears. A couple of things I want to remind you about. This room is equipped with an induction loop system. And if you look over, turn around and look at that little blue sign with the ear and the cross in it, that means that there is the induction loop in this room. Now, it's been a while since we've explained and talked about the induction loop. We're probably going to be doing that again at next month's Bring Your Lunch session. But if you have a telecoil in your hearing aid or your cochlear implant, you can turn that on and you will be able to hear me and the presenter come right to your hearing devices. If you don't know if you have a telecoil, we can give you some suggestions on how to get it figured out, and then, kind of make a decision if that's something you want to pursue with your audiologist. But right now, this is one of the best and amazing ways to be hearing accessible in a room like this with a large group, to hear clearly and to hear what our presenter is saying. However, we also have captioning. So if you'll notice up on the screen,
Right now we have a little bit of trouble.
we don't have captioning.
We did have captioning,
We did, yeah.
and now we're not having captioning.
Oh dear. Okay. This year has gotten off to a rough start. Even in 2023, we've had some ups and downs with technology. And so just help us and bear with us. The captioning that we usually have shows the speaker's words and what the presenter is saying. So you can read the words if you can't hear clearly the presentation. Okay. I'm gonna talk a little bit and give a
The caption, Jamie asked if we refresh our screen. They're showing up on Stewart's screen, but they're not showing up here. They were showing up before.
Yes.
There they are.
Okay. There they are. So they will be at the top of the screen for you to read our presenter's program. Okay. So lucky you don't get to hear me talk about HLAA anymore, because I'm going to introduce our presenter, Dr. Susan Schmidt. She is an audiologist with the Arizona Balance and Hearing Center, and she also has a passion for helping people with tinnitus, which is what her program is today, that she's going to be talking about and sharing information that will be helpful to individuals with the tinnitus. So I would like to introduce Dr. Susan Schmidt, and she will tell you a little bit more about herself and about tinnitus and solutions and ideas that'll be helpful for individuals here. Thank you.
Okay, so let me adjust this. I'm a little taller. Okay, can everybody hear me okay? Yes, okay. All right, so my name is Dr. Susan Schmidt. I've been an audiologist for, I did the math, over 25 years now. Born in Detroit, Michigan. And by the way, the Michigan teams are doing very well. The Lions, go Lions. Okay, so came out here to Arizona, moved around a little bit, but I've been here for the last 20 years when we started having our children. So we have 3 children. When I was growing up, especially here, I was going to church, and there was a deaf individual that was attending our church, and there was an interpreter. And so that was my first exposure to hearing loss. And just as a young person wondering what's causing that, what happened to them, that's how I kind of got into audiology. So I did go to school, I actually got my first degree in psychology, which is quite helpful for working with tinnitus patients. But then I went into audiology. And I have to say my first love in audiology is balance. Okay, so dizziness and balance, that's what got me into audiology. And in the place I'm at now, Arizona Balance and Hearing, that's a big part of what we do. So I do see balance impaired patients, and we do have a new program for treating balance disorders, which is awesome. But then when I was seeing all these patients, I was noticing that those that had tinnitus or ringing in their ears, they didn't have anywhere to go. They would just go to their doctor, and their doctor would say, there's nothing you can do about it. Okay, and they would go to even other audiologists that would say, there's nothing you can do about it. So that spurred me to go in and learn more about tinnitus. What are the things that we can do about it? So that's why I started working with tinnitus patients, and I've done so for at least the last 7 years, I think. So that's what we're going to talk about today, okay? So we're going to say, okay, what is tinnitus? Why do we have it? And what are the things that we can do to decrease our tinnitus? That would be what I want you to get out of this talk today, okay? So, okay, what is it? See, I'm ahead of myself already. What is it? What causes it? And what can you do about it? Okay. All right. So what is it? So tinnitus, you can say tinnitus, you can say tinnitus, okay? Tinnitus is okay, but you can't feel like there's an inflammation of the system, because it's not. It's not. There's not an inflammation, which we'll go over next. It's just a noise that you have internally inside your hearing circuit. It can sound like ringing, it can sound like crickets, it can sound like cicadas. That's the most popular sound that people tell me that it equates to. So those cicada bugs outside in the fall. It can also sound like a buzzing. If you have roaring, that's a certain word, and that usually equates to a certain balance or hearing disorder. But the actual sound quality of the tinnitus, usually I can tell where it's coming from based on how you describe it, which is interesting, okay? 20 million people have tinnitus. Most are not bothered by it, but it's the 2 million that are, okay? And those are my patients. Those are the ones that come and say, okay, I have this noise, it's interfering with my life, what can I do about it? Versus the other 18 million people just going around and they have it, they don't care, they're not bothered by it, okay? So if you're bothered by it, then we need to find ways of helping decrease that sensation. Okay, so I promise, just a little bit of anatomy and physiology. Okay, so this is how the ear works. There's a sound, so you have the bell, you have sound waves. It would be great if we could actually see the sound waves, but we can't see them. But they're there. We have this ear, it funnels in the sound. Okay, that's what our ear's for, it's a funnel. Okay, the sound goes in to the ear canal. It goes past the eardrum, which is a drum, okay? It vibrates just like a drum. And then it goes into that circular, snail-like structure right there called the cochlea. And that's where the sound is picked up and sent to the brain, okay? So in that snail cochlea, then it goes off to the brain, okay? And that's where the problem usually happens, okay, in that cochlea, okay? Inside that cochlea, here's what it looks like. If I was going to cut that in half, you would see all of these little sensory cells, okay? Lots of different sensory cells, and they have little hairs little hairs on the top of them, okay? And those cells send this signal to the brain, okay? So it's a mechanical wave that comes in, and then those cells change the mechanics to electrical, and it sends it to the brain, okay? So you need those. If you don't have those, you cannot hear, okay? All right, so these are those little hair cells. So you have the normal ones up on the top and all in a row, and those little hairs are standing straight up, perfect, sending the signal to the brain, okay? But then for hearing loss, you're missing a lot of those little sensory cells, and even those hairs, they're not connected correctly to send the information up to the brain, okay? So we have a test for this now. It's been around for ever since I became an audiologist, so at least 25 years. And it's a test where you just listen, you're not doing anything, and we can measure how healthy those hair cells are right now. Okay? And that will tell us if the information is being received from the brain or if there's information missing. Okay, so when you have those electrical signals, just like any kind of electrical signal, there's always circuit activity going through, okay? So for normal hearing, you will have little circuit spikes, but they will be random, okay? So random spikes equals silence, because your brain says, oh, those are just random, that's nothing that I need to be concerned with, and you don't hear anything, okay? With hearing loss, though, those random spikes are decreased. You don't have as many, okay? So not as much electrical energy going up the system. And then for tinnitus, you have more. There's more of them, okay? And because there's more of them, sometimes the brain will think there's some sort of pattern going on, okay? So the first, where you just hear silence, it's random. So we like random, we don't like a pattern. But with tinnitus, here's what happens, is that the brain says, oh, there's a lot of electricity going through here, and it kind of sounds like this. And so you will get a pattern that sounds like a whistle, or a pattern that sounds like a cricket, or a panel, or a pattern that sounds like cicadas, or a pattern that sounds like a tone. So whatever your brain sorts that out to be, that's the sound that you hear, which is interesting, okay? Okay, so what causes tinnitus? You name it, okay? It's true. You have age-related hearing loss, just because the circuit noise is getting less and less. Your system tries to make up for things and causes tinnitus. You can have a head injury. That's really common after a head injury. You will get some ringing in your ears usually. Noise exposure, so you work in noise, or so you shoot a firearm without any hearing protection. That'll do it right away. Anxiety, stress, we're going to go over that because that is a big one, okay? Almost everybody that comes to see me has anxiety and stress. Big part of tinnitus. Disease, any kind of disease in your body that causes the body to work differently can cause changes in the brain, which can equate to tinnitus. Medications, if you look at medications on the bottle, most of them will say this may cause dizziness, or this may cause tinnitus. Okay, those are the two common, most, what's the word I'm looking for? The common side effects. Thank you, I heard that. Side effects that we're looking for. And then the last one is somatic, which means the touch system. So your muscles and how they send the signals to the brain. Okay, so we're going to go over anxiety and stress. That's a big one, and so is somatic. Those are two very important links to tinnitus that we're finding now. Okay, so here is a standard, what we call audiogram. So when you get your hearing tested, this is the most basic thing that we can do, is test you based on frequency, or pitch. So, so we can test low pitches, medium pitches, and high pitches. We can even go higher and super high pitches that teenagers can hear. Okay, we can test those now. But in this case, you have these little X's and O's that's your right and left ear, and you have a little dip, if you see there, and you look at the graph and it's 4,000 hertz. Okay, a dip at 4,000 hertz means that person was exposed to noise, loud noise. Okay, it could be continuous loud noise, or it could be just one-time loud noise, and it took out some of those sensory cells and it caused a notch, a gap in the system. Okay, so that's what we're looking for when we do the standard, just the standard hearing test where you hear the tone and you push the button if you hear it. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for to see if there's any gaps in the system, any notches in the system, and also we'll do that other test to test the sensory cells, and usually those match up. So if I was doing my sensory cell test, this would say that 3,000, 4,000, and 6,000 would be quite weak or gone at this point. Okay, so the brain's not receiving that information. Okay, so we need to know, I need to know that as an audiologist, because I need to know the health of the system. Okay, so here's a biggie, okay? The limbic system, which is your emotional brain. Okay, so anytime you feel emotions or memories or anything like that, it has to go through your emotional brain, which is the limbic system. Okay, in your limbic system, that's where if you have anxiety or depression, you have a problem with your limbic system, okay? That needs to be addressed. In the limbic system, there's something that's called the thalamus, okay? That relays information to the rest of the body, okay? And that relay, that thalamus, is a direct link into the hearing circuit, okay? So if you are anxious or depressed or both, your limbic system, it's activated, and then that signal has the tendency of going directly into the hearing system. Okay, so when that happens, is that a big deal? It, doesn't seem like it would be a big deal. However, it is, because it sends electrical energy down from the top of your brain into the hearing system, which is at the side of your brain. Okay, any kind of electrical energy in the hearing system is categorized as noise because it's in the hearing system. So if it goes somewhere else, it can cause other problems. But if it goes into the hearing system, any electrical energy in the hearing system is always noise. Okay, so if you have anxiety or depression or a lot of stress, even just a stressful time in your life, that has a tendency of making extra activity into the hearing system, which is tinnitus, which is noise equals tinnitus, okay? So that's how anxiety and stress affects your tinnitus perception, okay? Lots of people have tinnitus, 18 million or more now, probably. It's the 2 million that have anxiety and stress attached to it. Those are the ones that are bothered by their tinnitus. Okay, so that is the differentiation. Usually 99% of the time that I see a patient, they will come in and say, I have tinnitus, and they will have some sort of high anxiety, stress, or depression associated with it. Okay, that's what makes you notice and be bothered by your tinnitus. Okay, it's the anxiety and the stress. So that is big. That's huge. Okay, so when I see my patients and I know that they have high anxiety, I need to find ways of decreasing their anxiety. If I do that, they might still have their tinnitus, but they won't care. So that's the difference. Okay, so I want them to get to that point where okay, yeah, I hear it. Maybe I don't even hear it anymore. I don't know. It doesn't bother me. I don't care. Okay, so you got to watch for the anxiety and the stress. That's a big one. Okay. All right, so that's from the top of the brain down. Now we're going to go from the down here and up. The somatic system, okay? And that is your touch system. So anytime you move your muscles, or something touches you, or you touch something, signals are sent to the brain, okay? That's your somatic, your touch system. And this system has a specific point in their circuit that shares with the hearing circuit. Okay, it's called the dorsal cochlear nucleus. You don't have to remember that, but there's a special junction point that the hearing system and the somatic system share. Okay, so anything that goes wrong with the somatic system has a potential of getting into that hearing circuit. Okay, so this is a special kind of tinnitus. If you have tinnitus caused by this, when you move your head down or over all the way, or if you press on your head and your neck muscles activate. If that changes your tinnitus, that's called a somatic tinnitus. It's a special kind of tinnitus. Okay, you can change it by moving in a certain way. Okay, your tinnitus will increase in volume, or it might change in tone or pitch. Okay. So when somebody comes into me and says, okay, yeah, every time I move my jaw like this, my tinnitus increases, I already know they have somatic tinnitus, okay? Special kind of tinnitus, and again, it's derived from usually the neck, something wrong with the neck or the spine into the hearing circuit, okay? So if that's the case, then we need to figure out ways. Is there a problem? Is there a problem with their neck? Is there a problem with the musculature here? Is there a problem with their spine? So we need to find that out, okay, in order to deal with that. Or if they have TMJ, some tightness in their jaw or something like that, that would lead to potentially tinnitus in that hearing circuit, okay? Okay. So those are the two big ones. That's the ones I find all the time with my patients, okay? So if some of you have tinnitus, or you know people, everybody knows somebody that has tinnitus. If you have tinnitus or know somebody that has it, you need to find somebody that specializes in tinnitus, okay? Physicians do not specialize in tinnitus. Ear, nose, and throat doctors do not specialize in tinnitus, okay? The only ear, nose, and throat, or he's not ear, nose, and throat, he's an otoneurologist. He is Dr. Rob in Phoenix. He started his practice working with tinnitus patients, and now he's expanded it. But he's the only physician that will see tinnitus patients. I mean, the other ones will see you, they'll just say there's nothing you can do about it. Okay, most audiologists will be the same way. They'll say, well, there's nothing that I know that you can do about it, okay? Or they'll put maybe some hearing technology on you and hope for the best, okay? So that's not the best answer. So find somebody that specializes in tinnitus. I do. There's somebody in Chandler, Dr. Alan Rohe. He does as well. Those are the only two here in Phoenix that I know. Okay. If you have another place that says, yes, we specialize in tinnitus, I think they mostly specialize in hearing devices. Okay. So find somebody who specializes in tinnitus. They'll do the full hearing evaluation, which takes about an hour and a half, okay? So it's not going to Costco. That's not it, okay? It is going to an audiologist. They're going to do all those testing that test the sensory cells. They're going to test the processing, how the brain is processing information. It's a big deal. It takes a little while, but we get all the information. Okay, yes?
One question, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
What about veterans? Because they may go to the VA, but is there anybody I'm thinking of my brother-in-law who has tinnitus.
Okay.
But this is the information he's been given, there's nothing.
Yeah. The VA, they have good hearts in the VA, but they haven't been super successful.
I'm sorry, because you're not passing a mic around. Could you repeat the question?
Okay, so sorry. Sorry. The question is, if you're a veteran, and so if you're going to the VA for your hearing needs and you have tinnitus, what do you do there? What I've found here, at least, is the VA is not terribly helpful for those with tinnitus. Okay. They might go through the steps to say, okay, are you service connected for hearing loss? Are you service connected for tinnitus? Did tinnitus occur while you were in the military? Things like that. But then the only thing they will do is they will try the hearing technology on you. Okay. Sometimes that will work, and most of the time it will not be enough. Okay, if you're bothered by tinnitus. If you have tinnitus, you don't care about it, doesn't bother you, it might work. But if tinnitus is really bothering you, it might not work just to put hearing technology on you. So as far as going to the VA, you can try that option, but if it doesn't pan out, you'll have to go to a private audiologist. Yes?
Is any of this covered by insurance?
As far as the testing, yes. As far as the treatment, it depends on what the treatment is. And we'll go over that. Okay. The hearing evaluations usually are covered by insurance. The tinnitus evaluation is part of it, where I would match your sound. So if you came in and said, I hear cicadas, I have my little magic iPad, and I would try to match that sound to see if that's indeed what you think you're hearing is where I think it is in the brain. Okay, so I will match it. I will do some ultra high pitches if that would be helpful too. So there's different things that we do for our tinnitus patients, and then based on that, based on your history, what you tell me, based on the valuation, then I would say, okay, so let's see what would be most appropriate. Is it hearing technology? Is it different sound therapies? Is it brain retraining? Is it something else? Is it all due to stress and anxiety? If so, then we need ways of dealing with that, which might be going to get some therapy to reduce that. Okay, so the evaluation and the history. The history is super important. I usually know what I'm going to find before I even test you based on your history. Okay, so history is important. Okay, next slide. Okay, so if you've had tinnitus, if you've had it develop really recently, that would be the best time to go see a tinnitus specialist, okay, before it kind of ingrains in your brain, okay, is what happens. So if you can get in soon and we can figure it out, then hopefully we can reverse it, okay? But that doesn't mean if you've had tinnitus for 20 years, we can't do anything about it, because usually we can. Okay, we just have to find out what's causing it and what's the best way to treat it. Okay, so what are the things that we can do about it? All right, so for tinnitus, these are the things that we have to consider. We have to consider, do you have some thoughts and emotions that are activated here that are causing it to become more noticeable? How is the hearing circuit? Is it healthy? Are there gaps that we're finding? How is your sleep? If you do not have sleep, if you do not have good sleep, your tinnitus tends to get louder with time. Okay, and concentration, is it affecting your ability to concentrate and do your everyday things? Or if you're in a meeting, is it affecting your ability to concentrate and follow what's going on? Okay, so let's start with thoughts and emotions, okay? So not with everybody, but with some of my patients, I have them either tell me or write down the thoughts and emotions that are having towards their tinnitus, okay? So if they write down something like, I cannot stand this noise, that's not gonna work, okay? Even when you say that, when I say, I cannot stand this noise, it makes me tense, okay? It physically changes your body. If you change it to, it's just a noise, It's just a noise. It's just extra circuit noise in my hearing circuit that makes me relax. Okay, so the thoughts that you think about your tinnitus will affect how much it bothers you. Okay, so that's the first thing that we look at. Do you have thoughts that are negative in some way? If we do, we need to change that to thoughts that are neutral or positive. Okay, so we can say something like, I can learn to control this over time, and then you can feel yourself just relax just by saying that, which is great. Okay, so we got to be aware of that. All right, other things. So if there is a big stress, anxiety, depression factor, we have to bump up the level from there, okay? So there's something called cognitive behavioral therapy that's been around for a long time. It's done with a psychologist, okay? And that therapy, it retrains the brain, it retrains your emotional brain, your limbic system, to kind of deactivate with time, okay? So it's not so strongly sending those signals down into the hearing circuit, okay? So that is an option for those with high anxiety, high stress, high depression. We need to deal with that, okay? That's not an easy process, and it's not an instant process. That is, you go to therapy, just like any kind of therapy. You go regularly and you work on these things every day, okay, to decrease your stress and anxiety, okay? Also, there's tinnitus retraining therapy, which we call TRT, because we like to abbreviate everything in the medical field. So TRT, okay, and that is guided by an audiologist, okay? So it's taking some of the things from CBT, but we're not psychologists. Even though I have a psychology degree, I'm not a psychologist. I didn't go and get my PhD or master's, okay? But we can use some of those tactics, and we can help somebody reduce their anxiety while giving them some sound treatments as well, okay? So as an audiologist, we want to introduce any kind of sound that will help the hearing circuit work better while we try to decrease the anxiety and the stress, okay? So in that program, there's a lot of education, there's a lot of you doing things in your daily activity to decrease anxiety, plus we're gonna add a sound element in there, okay? And then for mindfulness, that's something that anybody can do on their own, okay? So you're just going to just collect your thoughts however you want to do it. You're just going to sit there and just relax, or you're going to do some yoga and just concentrate on what you're doing. You're going to do something that just helps your mind just focus and relax, okay? So as a disclosure, I have tinnitus. I'm going to say I still have it. There was a research study that they did in the 1960s. Okay, they put people in a soundproof booth, and they asked these participants to tell them if they heard anything in the booth. Okay, they didn't come in with tinnitus. Everybody was like, no, I'm hearing just fine and everything's good, and they put them in a soundproof booth, and then they kept them in there for a few minutes, and then they brought them out and said, do you hear anything? Most people that came out of the booth said, oh yes, I did. Okay, so they heard some sort of internal sound, which would be tinnitus. Okay, so I didn't have tinnitus before then, but I decided to do that on myself. I shouldn't have done it, because sure enough, I have some internal sound, and ever since then, I had tinnitus. And so every time I laid down to go to bed, it was there. It was screaming in my head. It was crazy. And I thought, oh my gosh, what did I do to myself? And so then I had to find ways to decrease that in my own brain, okay? And so as an audiologist, I had all these ideas of what I could do. I knew I didn't have any stress and anxiety that I was attached to it, none, okay? So that was not part of my problem. My problem was my brain heard a noise and said, okay, I hear that. And then from then on, anytime it's quiet, it heard that noise again. Okay, so I did some mindfulness. Okay, so every night I would lay down, close my eyes, and I would do deep, super deep breathing like you do in yoga. You really inflate your lungs and you squeeze out all the air you possibly can. And I did that for 3 minutes every night, okay? And I visualized this little volume knob. So as I exhaled, as I was like, and then I would turn the volume knob down in my head, okay? It took me about 4 months. After the 4-month mark, it worked. I could exhale, and that noise would decrease in volume, which was really cool. Okay, and then so I was like, okay, I'm onto something, and so I kept on going. And after a year, I could control it. So if I hear it, I can just exhale, and I can make it go away. Okay, so that's what mindfulness can do, but it takes practice, and usually people give up too soon, way too soon. Okay, so for a lot of my patients, I have had them try that, and some are successful, some are not, but this is a really good thing to try. Okay, so those are the things that we can do about the limbic system and how to see if we can change the anxiety or have you gain control of that sound in your brain. Okay, all right. So sleep is a big one. You need lots of sleep, okay? Lots of good sleep. So during the night, you should go through these sleep cycles, and that repairs your brain from what happened during the day, okay? So you need to go through those sleep cycles. So if you don't go through those sleep cycles, or you get less sleep, less and less, your brain doesn't have the ability to repair itself the way that it used to before you were getting good sleep. So if you don't get good sleep, usually the next morning that equals louder tinnitus. Okay, it bothers you more that whole next day if you have a bad night's sleep. Okay, and if that is chronically a problem, if you chronically can't go to sleep, takes you a long time to go to sleep, or you can't stay asleep, then we need to find ways to help with that. So we would work with your physician to say, okay, how do we make this happen? How do we get you to have good 8 hours of nice sleep going through all the sleep cycles? Okay, so sometimes that might mean medication, sometimes that might mean small things like not looking at screens and creating a time frame of when you do things during the day. Okay, so different things, but sleep is important. All right, concentration is a big one. You have to be able to actively engage your brain throughout the day. Okay, so right now, I have a husband, 3 kids, a dog, job, so I am busy, right? So I'm actively engaged in a lot of things during the day, every day, which engages my brain, which is really good, because then even if I was to notice my tinnitus, I probably wouldn't, okay, because I've got all this stuff going on. All right, but the problem is sometimes in life you kind of decrease what you do during the day, and that gives your brain free time. Okay, we don't want your brain to have too much free time to not do anything, because then you're going to notice different things happening, and one of the things you might notice is your tinnitus. Okay, so you want to do things that actively engage your brain and affect your life. So you want to have your goals in life. So you don't want to get up every day and watch westerns. Okay, that shouldn't be your goal every day. Maybe you can do it here and there, but it shouldn't be your goal every day. You want to learn something new that really engages your brain. So if you're like, okay, these people invited me to learn this card game, I'm going to go do that, because that will engage your brain. And when you're doing that, and when you're focused on something else, you can't really focus on your tinnitus that much, okay, which is a good thing. Okay, so retraining exercises, different focusing exercises that you do might be part of what I would advise my patients to do, and then meditation. Okay. So the learning something new, that's a big one. I really encourage my patients to do something like that. The best thing you can do for your hearing circuit is to learn an instrument. Okay, lots of research out there right now about music and how music affects the brain. And if you've played an instrument even when you were younger for at least 2 years, you changed your brain for the better. Okay, you actually changed your circuitry and your brain is super strong. Okay, but you need to have that 2 years of playing an instrument to do that. Okay, so if you've played an instrument before, that's great, and you want to pick it up again, that's perfect. Or if you're just like, you know what, I've always wanted to learn the violin. Now would be the time. If you have tinnitus, would be a great time. That's what I did. I've always wanted to learn the violin, so 5 years back, I just started. Now I play with an orchestra. So it's really fun. So learning an instrument physically changes the circuitry of your brain. It helps you, especially in background noise. So if you go to restaurants, you have problems hearing people, playing an instrument for 2 years will change that to make that situation better for you. So you can focus in on one person and let the other noise go away. Okay, so that would be a good one if you're learning to play an instrument. But even anything. If you don't know how to crochet and you want to learn how to crochet, that will tax your brain for a little while. So anything that causes your brain to work, and you're working at this because you've never done this before, or this is difficult, you want that. Okay, you want that during your everyday life. Okay, the clicker's not working. Okay, so for hearing, okay, so this is the most common thing that we look at for your tinnitus perception, okay? So you have extra circuit noise in your hearing circuit, okay? And it could be one ear, it could be both ears. You could say, no, I feel like it's in my head. It just doesn't matter, okay? Doesn't really matter. If you wear some hearing technology, that might decrease your perception of your tinnitus. Okay, so if somebody comes up to me and I find out they have weaknesses in their hearing system that can be corrected with hearing technology, I will likely try that on during the office visit. I'll say, okay, let's just see what happens. I'll put it on, and then after a couple minutes, I will see if that tinnitus perception goes down, okay? If it does, that usually means, hey, that's the biggest problem. You just need to correct your hearing circuit and then everything's fine. If it doesn't, that means there's either that anxiety component in there or there's that somatic component, that's getting into the circuit, okay? But if hearing technology takes care of it, that's perfect. That means there's not a lot of extra activity coming from other sources. Okay, so that's an easy way that I can test for that, okay, just to put that on. So when I do it, though, I did a study back when there was COVID, when COVID came on. I did a study, it was a nationwide study, that we were trying out certain different hearing technologies for tinnitus patients. So everybody else in the study just put on the technology to figure out, okay, how successful are we in doing this? What I did is I fit the technology, but differently, according to my specifications that I learned during the study, and I counseled people on these are the other things that I need you to do in your everyday life to decrease your tinnitus. So my patients did much better than the national study. Okay, because again, you need to know all of the different factors that are coming in with that tinnitus perception, and you need to focus on each one. Okay, the hearing one is important, but so are the other things that can be causing that tinnitus too. Okay. All right. Okay, so let's talk about the sound therapies, including the hearing technology. Okay, but one is I put here classical music because it started out with classical music, but now I've revised that to any kind of music, and then hearing technology. Okay, so music is my favorite. I will always 100% recommend music to my tinnitus patients. Okay, so you can listen to whatever music that you love to listen to, okay? I would recommend classical music, but if you don't like classical music, it's not going to work, okay? Because your brain is going to be like, I hate this music, and it's not going to work. You have to listen to something you really love, and you have to find ways of listening to it throughout the day. That doesn't involve blocking other sounds. So I don't ever want somebody to wear noise-canceling headphones blocking out the world listening to their music, okay? Your brain is always listening for your everyday sounds. And if you block those out too much, you will increase your tinnitus, okay? And you will probably increase your sound sensitivity. So normal sounds will start to sound louder, okay, which is not good. And that's going to be a problem with this generation with all their noise canceling devices, okay? You can listen to the music in daytime. You can listen to it while you're going to sleep. You can listen to it while you're sleeping if it doesn't bother you, if it doesn't wake you up, okay? Music is healthy sound that gets into the hearing circuit, okay? It's the most healthy thing you can do for your hearing circuit is music, okay? You can listen to them via your phone, your speaker on your phone. You can have speakers in your house. You can have AirPods sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes it's okay. My favorite are bone conduction headphones, those right there that guy's wearing, okay? Those just sit right here, okay, right on your temples, and they conduct the sound through the bone, okay, not through your ears, okay? Your ears are still open to hear all of the sounds around you, but anything streaming through those, from your phone to these, you will hear through your bone. Nobody else will hear it. You will be the only one that hears it, okay? So those are great. Lots of people that ride bikes use those because they need to hear the traffic around them and listen to their music. People who run use these. Very, very handy, but very good for tinnitus because, again, I don't want you to block out your ears. Okay, don't block out the sound. You need to have those everyday sounds, but I want to get music in at the same time. Okay, so if you're at work or you're taking a walk or something and you want to listen to music, I would do something like this. I would get some Shocks headphones and link them to your phone, okay, and play the music that way. So when you wear these, sometimes just listening to music you love will help your tinnitus decrease over time. It's not immediate. It'll sneak up on you, okay? Sometimes, though, for others, I have to give them an exercise. I have to say, okay, I want you to listen to this music, and if they like classical music, it's easy. I'm like, okay, I want you to listen to the cello today. Focus on the cello, okay? Or focus on the trumpet. And that helps your brain focus on what it wants to focus in that hearing circuit, which is helpful if you do it over and over again, okay? Because, again, you have control over your brain, so I want your brain to be able to focus on what you want it to focus on and not what you don't want to focus on. So I want you to focus on what you want to, but not your tinnitus, okay? That's training your brain, yes? I wouldn't, because that would be really hard to wear when you're sleeping. Yeah, yeah. For that application, you'd have to do a speaker in your bedroom, or you could put your phone underneath your pillow, and you could get the sound that way too. Okay, so that's a way of doing that too. Okay, so over usually 4 to 6 months, like I said, it's not immediate, 4 to 6 months, you should notice over that time that, oh, you know what, maybe I'm not noticing my tinnitus as much, okay, which is interesting. Again, because because that music is very, very good for your hearing circuit, okay? Whether you play music or whether playing music is the best, okay? Secondary to it is listening to it, but you have to really like the music that you're listening to. It has to go into your emotional brain, because music will always activate your limbic system, your emotional system. Happy memories or happiness that it just evokes when you listen to the music, okay? So you wouldn't want to listen to like the theme song of a horror movie, okay? That would make you kind of tense and not happy. This is music from your past, or music that you just really love to listen to right now, or classical music. Like I said, that's always a good thing. Lots of research on classical music. You know, you're supposed to, when you're in college, you're supposed to listen to classical music because it helps you focus on what you're focusing on when you're studying, okay? So music has really good effects over time, slowly though. Can't go every day. Is this helping? Is this helping? As soon as you say that, it triggers your tinnitus to come back, okay? So you just have to let it go. It's just a habit. You walk in your house, turn on the music, that's what happens, okay? That's just a habit that you get into, okay? All right, and now the hearing technology. Okay, so hearing technology nowadays is supposed to lower the background noise around you and just bring out somebody's speech. Okay, it does that pretty effectively for some people and less effective for other people. Okay, but that's what it's supposed to do. And if your brain is just saying, hey, I'm not getting enough electrical activity here, and then we put in hearing technology to give it back to you, does it take your tinnitus away? And sometimes that's a yes, okay? Your brain says, oh yeah, I have all my information again, I'm good, okay? And then it can release that sound, which is good, okay? So that's the easiest, most quickest way to decrease tinnitus, but that's not effective for everybody. But the only way to know if it's effective for you is to try it out, okay? When I did the study, I was trying to figure out if I could predict who this would work for and who it wouldn't work for. There is no predicting this, okay? It doesn't matter if you've had your tinnitus for 40 years, if you've just had it, it doesn't matter if it sounds like crickets, it doesn't matter if there's an anxiety component, if there's not an anxiety component, nothing mattered, okay? I can't predict it, and so I try not to, even though I really want to, okay? I see my patients and I'm like, this is going to work for you. As soon as I say that, it won't. Okay, all right? So there's no predicting it. The only way I can figure out how to do it is just put them on and say, okay, what's going on? What are you hearing? What are you not hearing? So hearing technology is effective, but it has to be programmed in a certain way for your tinnitus, okay? So I have my specific programming features that I do. If you go to somebody not specializing in tinnitus, they'll just fit you with hearing technology. It won't be any different than anybody else's. And they might put a noise in there, a masking, like a masking noise, to cover up your tinnitus, which is not my favorite. That's my last resort. Okay, I just want your hearing circuit to say, yes, I'm happy, I don't need any extra information because I'm receiving it all, and then it takes away the tinnitus. Okay, that's my preference. My last resort is to add some kind of a masking, hissing noise to decrease the tinnitus perception, just for those who are truly, really, really bothered by it and I can't affect it in any other way. Okay. So if you go to a place and they're like, okay, first thing they do is try to cover up your tinnitus, they're not a tinnitus practice, they're a hearing practice. Okay. Okay. All right, so we're going to try this and see if it works. Okay. There's these 3 sound bites here. Okay. And one.
She said, yum, yum.
Okay. Okay, that's one. Hold on. This is tinnitus without any assistance. So if you experience tinnitus, you might hear something like this. Can you play that again?
She tasted the cake. She said, yum, yum.
Okay. So depending on how well your hearing is, you probably maybe heard a tone and there was some voice in the background. Okay, so the tinnitus was kind of overpowering the voice, so you couldn't really hear what that sentence was. Okay, so if we just immediately try to cover up the tinnitus with noise, with a masking noise, this is what it'll sound like. The second one.
When she tasted the cake, she said, "Yum, yum."
Okay, all right, so now you have the tinnitus noise, you have a masking noise, and you have the person trying to talk to you. That's not ideal, okay? I don't like that option. That's why I don't like that option. So the third one is if the hearing technology does its job and treats the brain like it needs to be treated, then this might happen, the third one.
When she tasted the cake, she said, "Yum, yum."
Okay, one more time.
When she tasted the cake, she said, "Yum, yum."
Okay, so that tinnitus went way down. The voice now still not clear through these speakers, but the voice comes out, right? And there's no extra noise. Okay, so that would be best case. And actually, the best case scenario is takes the tinnitus away, which it does a lot of the time. That hearing technology, but sometimes it'll decrease it to a reasonable amount so that you can go about your day and it doesn't interfere with speech anymore. Okay, so that's what hearing technology can do if it's set properly to your tinnitus, and there's no other anxiety or somatic component that's making it much worse. Okay? All right, and then, can't go. There we go. Did I skip one? Yes, okay. All right, so now, anybody who's been Googling tinnitus, which is everybody, okay, they found this bimodal stimulation therapy. Okay, this is a tinnitus device. Okay, that you can be prescribed. Okay, it was developed here in the United States at the University of Michigan. There's a Michigan reference again. I love Michigan. Okay, started back in few years, well, no, now like maybe 5 years ago, University of Michigan. It was just FDA approved this year for here in the US. It was being used overseas, like England and Ireland over there. It's been used there for several years now. And it looks like it helped a good amount of tinnitus patients. And finally, it was FDA approved this year. Okay, so this is available. It goes into the fact that the touch system, the somatic system, that junction point between touch and hearing, it targets that area. Okay, it disrupts it. Okay, so that's what they're looking for. It started out when they did the research, it was for that special somatic tinnitus. So they found that, wow, it works for them. Okay, but then they said, okay, well, it worked for other people with tinnitus, and they found out that it does as well. Okay, so they came up with this device, and it gives you wear these headphones. It gives you a sound stimulus. You do it for about 30 minutes a day. You hear things through the headphones, and you get an electrical shock at the same time. Okay, so we actually shock your tongue, and you get shocks, little shocks, and then you hear sound. Okay, and they've worked this out so they can be like, okay, this is affecting that junction point, and sometimes that will reduce somebody's tinnitus. Okay, again, not one thing works for everybody, so this will not work for everybody, but this is now available in the United States. Okay, it's called the linear system. That's what they call it. Okay, it works by neuromodulation, and neuromodulation has been used for other things as well, not just tinnitus. Okay, but you're altering that nerve activity in the circuit is what you're doing. Okay, so in this particular model, you're using electrical stimulation. See the thing in her mouth? She's getting little shocks, plus the acoustical stimulation, so the sound through those headphones. Okay. This is a very specific device. If you want to try it, I do not prescribe this device at this time. Okay. I'm a little more skeptical than others. But if you want to, you can contact Dr. Alan Rohe. He is in Chandler at the Tinnitus and Hearing Center, and he is prescribing that device. Okay. That device, as far as I know, is not covered by insurance. Okay, so it is an out-of-pocket expense, and I don't know what the charge is. I'm guessing, because back in England and Ireland, it was like $4,000 or $5,000. I'm guessing that's what it is. Okay, yes. That's a good question, because it's been overseas for a long time. If you follow, and the only way to do that, I mean, the company is not giving percentages per se, okay? But I've been following overseas these chat groups, these links, things like that, and for some people, they say, okay, yeah, well, maybe it got a little worse when it started, but then it started to get better. So I don't have a percentage for you, but if you contacted Dr. Rohe, he could tell you, as far as last year, how successful it was for him. It would vary on, again, what's causing your tinnitus. Okay, so if it's all anxiety and you do this, I would say it's not going to work. Okay, if you have disruption in that one place with your somatic system and your hearing system, and you create some different neural activity, I'm going to say, yeah, it's pretty likely that it would change your tinnitus. Okay, but again, we have to figure out what's causing your tinnitus in order to know if this would be a viable option for you. Okay, before this, there was another treatment for tinnitus. It was called the Levo system, but the problem with that is that you would have to match your sound closely, and you would have to listen to that at night. Okay, so the problem with that is at night you need to sleep. Okay, and so if you have to listen to this thing, if you listen to your own tinnitus all night projected in your ear, it just really didn't work for a lot of people. Okay, so this is an option, but there's risk for this one, right? Versus music, you can listen to music, it's not going to do anything bad to your hearing circuit. This, there's always that potential that your tinnitus gets worse, okay, because you are actively trying to change the activity in the circuit, okay. So that's a risk of this one, but you have to decide, risk and benefit. Okay, and so if you're interested in it, I would talk to Dr. Rohe and see what his success is with this device. Okay, but it's now here. Okay. Okay.
We're going to get the microphones
Okay.
that are connected to. Who's got a question?
Many years ago, I appreciate you being here. This is very interesting.
Okay.
Many years ago, I had tinnitus, if I said it right.
Yeah.
My teenage years, 13, 14, 15 years old. It was terrible. I went to many doctors. They couldn't, pills, and nothing worked.
Right.
The last resort was acupuncture and a change of diet. I was eating hamburgers and French fries and soda. Gave that a try, and the acupuncture went for 2 times a week for 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
And lo and behold, it went away, the noises. Mm-hmm. Is acupuncture involved in this?
I have had patients that have gone through acupuncture, and 100% of them said, when they're going through the acupuncture, their tinnitus tends to decrease. But as soon as they stop, their tinnitus came right back. Okay? Yeah.
Yeah, they stuck needles all over.
Yeah.
They stuck needles and amazing. That didn't hurt.
Okay. Good. Good. I'm so
Yeah.
glad that worked for you.
There's
And the diet.
amazing treatments now that you're explaining. It helps a lot. You know,
Right.
more awareness. Thank goodness.
Yes. Yes, because there are things you can do for your tinnitus. Yes. Okay. Anybody else?
Not a question.
Okay.
I am part of the 18 million, not the 2 million.
Okay. Good for you.
Okay, yes, yes. This was really informative. So I went to an audiologist twice for just a hearing test. Then I had an MRI done on my brain to make sure it wasn't a tumor or anything causing that noise, and it's only in my left ear.
Oh, okay.
And an MRI on my neck, making sure. I went back for another test just to see how the results were and stuff. And I have age-related hearing loss. Of course, it's worse in my left ear because that's where and I have cicadas in my left ear. So then after that, I went to a hearing instrument specialist. So I'm doing the masking thing. I know you said you don't like that.
Yeah.
But it works for me. It went from cicadas to, I liken it to a kitchen sink running in the other room. That's the sound that I get in there.
Okay.
So it works for me. You did point out some other things today that I learned a lot, just didn't think. This really began for me when I think about it at retirement. And to me, I think the noise might have always been there, but retirement is when I noticed it was there.
Yes.
So that's where I sit now, and so I'm just doing the masking thing for now. Mine isn't, I sleep. Mine is just borderline, just live with it kind of thing. So masking it just makes it a little bit better.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, all the right things for single-sided tinnitus, we have to rule out all of those things. So yeah, all those tests that you did were necessary, which is good. Yeah, I wish that the hearing technology would just take away that tinnitus without that noise, though. But it doesn't without the noise. You don't have that. You still have the cicadas without the extra noise in there. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Another thing that I do is when I drive. Another thing that I do when I drive, I don't listen to any music or anything because I like to listen to my car in case it's making a noise that I've never noticed before. So even in my car, I don't listen to music, because I don't even wear my hearing aids all the time.
Oh, okay.
Because it's just so, age-related hearing loss and this noise,
Right.
to deal with.
Yeah.
So I'll think about the more music,
More music in your
and
life.
all that and stuff.
Yes. Yeah. And that's a common thing. Okay, I retired and all of a sudden I have this noise now. Okay. It's because you're just not moving around and active and doing all of those things that you were doing before. Okay. So your brain needs to have something else to do. Yeah.
You mentioned tinnitus and balance. I have a problem with balance. Would you recommend seeing a tinnitus specialist?
Not for balance. I would recommend a balance specialist. Okay, so yeah, I do that too. but anybody can do that. But yeah, to do a full balance evaluation, your balance and your hearing are hooked together. Okay, that's what audiology is. It's the balance plus the hearing, but most audiologists are just hearing and don't go into the balance side. But we need to know what's going on with the hearing and the balance side because usually they are related. We're learning how they're related more and more with each decade. There's a lot that we don't know, but we know how They're basically structured, and they work on the same fluids and things like that. So we look at both sides. Yes. Yes.
Hi. Thank you for the presentation. It's such great information to have. One of the questions that I have, you brought up a picture of the bone conduction device, and myself wearing hearing aids, and now, of course, Bluetoothing everything, music. Would that work with somebody that has severe bilateral hearing loss with music through the bone conduction? Would you wear that with your, I mean, I know you said it's through the bone.
Yeah, no, if you already have hearing technology, then you would just stream the music through there.
Okay, it
Yeah,
wouldn't be in addition to?
No.
No,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
That's a great question. I'm going to take off on that because, so I got those bones as a gift from someone, but I paired it to my, my phone. I was so excited, and I put them on, and I'm like, did I do it wrong, and whatever, and then I had my friend put them on, and she's like, oh my God, and so it's like
the hearing loss, yeah.
I couldn't, because I was really excited, thinking, wow, I wouldn't have to wear my hearing aids or whatever, but so I guess it depends on whatever my hearing loss is. It's not conducting the, I don't know, no conductor, but anyway.
Yeah, because if your hearing loss is to a certain level, those won't go, because they're built for safety, so they won't go super loud, right? So, sorry. So if your hearing loss is a certain level, it will have to go, you'll still have to stream it through your hearing technology. Good question.
You said there's only 2 doctors locally that specialize in tinnitus.
Yes.
One of them's you?
Yes.
And the other is the Ellen Rohe?
Correct.
Okay, and that's it?
That's it. There's other people, there's other audiologists that say, yes, we specialize in tinnitus, but if all they do is cover up the tinnitus, they're not specialized, they're not finding the problem, and they're not saying, okay, this is the problem, these are the things we need to work on, and here we go. They're just putting on hearing technology.
Are there specific tests, or is there like one general test that you figure out all the tinnitus issues?
No, there's a whole battery of different tests. That's the hour and a half. So you do a standard hearing evaluation. You do what we call otoacoustic emissions, and that's those little sensory cells. You do a tympanogram and reflexes. You do processing, so you're in the booth and you have to hear different words all at the same time in both ears, and you have to try to hear them and repeat them back. It's all about processing, so there's a lot to that evaluation. Okay, so if you go to Costco, they're going to ask you, okay, press the button when you hear the beeps. That's what they're going to do. That's not the whole, that's one small part of the evaluation.
Thank you.
Yep.
Just a quick question. You mentioned classical music is the nicest to listen to. How about if the music has lyrics? Does that make any difference?
Yeah. No, if the music has lyrics, that is just fine, as long as it's not a new song for you. So if you have gaps in your hearing and you're trying to figure out the lyrics, you're going to cause a lot of strain in your cognition, okay? So if it's a new song, I need you to look it up, because we have the internet now, okay? So you can look up the lyrics, read them and learn them, and then enjoy the song, but don't try to figure out the lyrics if you have hearing problems, okay? But listening to music with lyrics, yes, you will activate your emotional system. It'll be a good thing, okay?
I just wanted to add a comment to that. It's so true. I lost my hearing when I was 6.
Okay.
So most often I only know from music back in the 70s and 80s, I know some of the lyrics, but I always felt a little bit of a disconnect because I didn't ever really know all of the lyrics. But now you can just Google lyrics and song, and so if I'm familiar with the music, my emotional impact is so strong because now I have access, I can read the lyrics and I know the music. So something happens to me that's just wonderful when I do that. So that's really helpful to do. And I had another question, but I don't think I'm going to remember it now. Oh, I do remember.
Okay, good.
So I'm about to, in the next few months, I'm going to get a cochlear implant. So I'm curious if you see patients who have cochlear implants and if you notice an increase. I don't really have tinnitus very often. I have it occasionally. When I was little, I taught myself to ignore it.
Okay, good.
And I just wondered if you see an uptick with when someone has a CI, cochlear implant.
Yeah, it could go either way. There could be a little increase or there could be a decrease, okay? So it could go either way, but you've already trained your brain not to hear it, so hopefully, you will have a disruption in that circuit because something else has changed. So hopefully, even if it does increase, you'll be just like, oh, but that's not, you just tell your brain, no, I already learned how to not pay attention to it, and hopefully that will work.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are there any more questions? Well, I want to thank you for this amazing presentation. We got and boo-hoo to our members who didn't show up today. This was amazing. We've had a number of presentations on. Can everyone hear me? Okay, because I still have my loop on here and my telecoils.
Okay.
Anyway, we've had a number of presentations. This was the most understandable, the most explainable, the most realistic. It was amazing. We've got a great resource here, and we're just so lucky that you came out and presented to us. So thank you very much. Let's give another round of applause to Dr. Susan Schmidt. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, I'm going to let you sit down. I'm going to actually this after you. And sometimes we take a little break, but we had such a great presentation. We're going to continue on with the rest of our meeting and then come to some closure. So what I wanted to do was Shannon passed out information about the Loving Life with 50. Those of you that live in Sun City in particular may be familiar with this health expo. HLAA West Valley is going to be there. So if you're going to stop by and get information about different programs that are there, I think it's maybe about like insurance and a couple of other topics, but we're going to be there letting people know that there is support for people with hearing loss and that we've got great resources here. We can talk about tinnitus now and the resources that we can share for helping there. So that's out there on your tables. Also, there is a response form on the tables. Please, please, please take a few minutes to talk about either this presentation, talk about, I'm a little curious, our December turnout was on music and it was a repeat presentation. If you did not attend in December, if you could jot down and let us know in particular why. You know, if you had a Christmas party that sounded better than our meeting, I understand completely. But if there were any other reasons, please share that also. Okay, I think we're going to go. I'm going to have two more quick announcements. I have a few handouts and flyers for next month's presentation, who is going to be Dr. Michael Harvey. He's going to be giving a presentation on hearing loss and relationships. Maybe think about inviting your significant other to kind of enjoy this presentation and get some ideas on how the two of you are handling your relationship with hearing loss, because it's not an easy thing to handle. So he will be with us in February 13th. I have a few handouts here. You're more than welcome to take. There are all the handouts, again, are on our website, HLAA-westvalleyaz.org. Okay, and I include that now in all those emails I send out to you. And also, there are a few handouts on the convention. Please think about, I know it's June 26th to the 29th, but really give some great thought to how you can join us at Wild Horse Pass. And we'll be talking about it at every meeting and sharing some of the benefits of coming out even for a day. But if you can come out for the couple of days, that's great. I think we'll go ahead and have the raffle because we're going to wrap things up here. So, Cindy, does everyone have a raffle ticket?
Can I have a microphone? Oh. Thanks, Stewart. Go ahead and pull, and then I'll hold
Pull
the
it?
microphone, and you read off the
Okay.
drum roll.
Drum roll. Okay. Anybody have 1168?
I did.
Yay!
Yay! Pick a bag. There you go. Next up.
1152? 1152? No? Was that me? Nope.
Okay, no, last call, 1152.
1152.
Okay, pull another.
One 1150.
Okay, pick a bag.
Oh, I'll take the purple.
Okay, there you go. And finally,
Last one. 1161.
okay, our lucky winner. Thank you very much.
Okay, one last announcement. We have some oranges here, compliments of Gary Brown and So Help Yourself. And we'd like to thank Dr. Susan Schmidt for a wonderful, amazing presentation. If we want to give her a round of applause again, that's great. Remember, our next meeting is February 13th on Tuesday. I've got a few handouts here. Take them, take a picture of it,